Okay, let's face it. So we know that there's a lot of weird and unstructured information out there when it comes to sidechaining, especially in Ableton. I am here to show you today that it is literally the easiest thing in the world. Okay, so before we get into any specifics, what we're going to do here is recreate one of the samples that is from one of my new sample packs called what's the fucking name of the sample pack? Dark Drill Melodies. It's right there. So first and foremost, let's give that a listen. Okay, to get into the specifics, here's basically what we've got to do. You've got to load up at least 2 audio tracks. Now these can be MIDI tracks, but really it's my kind of preference to kind of do this sort of stuff with audio, literally just because it saves on a lot of processing power and things like that. Now I do have a 32 gig machine, but still, let's not put it under more stress than it needs to be. So let's get 2 audio tracks. We've got 2 audio tracks, and first and foremost what we actually need to put in is of course our sample / our instrument, whatever you're working with, whether you're doing this with MIDI or if you're doing this like I am right now with audio. So duplicate that over a series of bars. It can be 5, it can be 17 like I've got here. And the other thing that we have to do is to obviously fill up that second audio track, and we're going to do that with a kick. So right here for this specific sample, obviously we have the piano, and we are going to have obviously the element of the track that is going to create that sort of pulsing sound, and we'll explain how that's done in a second. So this is what that piano sounds like without any of the sidechain applied. So it sounds fine on its own, but it could definitely be jazzed up somewhat and made a little bit more interesting. This is where the sidechaining comes in. So we've got the kick. We do not need the kick to be live or enabled. We literally just want to be able to sort of process its signal using a compressor in the actual instrument track itself. So to start this off, we're going to need to add a compressor. So if we literally just go into our audio effects, go over to dynamics and grab a compressor. So we've got the compressor on the track that we need it. Now what we need to obviously go ahead and do is to actually reveal the sidechain feature itself. So if we go down to the left hand corner and we click the little downward arrow, as you can see right here, there's a little sidechain button. So if we enable that, then we get this audio from section that is now enabled, and we can go ahead and select a kick from that, and we're going to select our second channel, which is obviously our kick. Now that we have the kick selected, the instrument track, so the compressor on the instrument track is going to use the audio signal from that kick, and that's what's going to create that punchy sidechainy sort of sound that everyone's sort of used to. Now if I just start to sort of play this, you'll notice that it's taken no real effect yet. So what we need to do really is to duplicate these kicks over a series of bars, so all of the 17 bars that we sort of have here. And now if we click just sort of play, no real effect yet, because basically what we haven't done is we haven't actually messed with any of the attack, release and ratios of the actual compressor itself. So if we go ahead and click this little option right here, it makes it a little bit easier than the other sort of compressor options that are within sort of Ableton. At least I find it that way as well. So basically what we're going to start to do is to start to play around with the ratio, attack, release and the threshold really. So once I start to mess around with this, you'll start to notice where the changes start to sort of come from. Some of it's a bit drastic and some of it's the right sort of level that we're really sort of going for. So as you can see, we're now getting that sort of sidechain sort of pumpy effect. And from here, it's really as simple as just messing around with the ratio, messing around with the attack, and messing around with the sort of threshold to really sort of gain the sound that you want for your project. So if we press play again and have just a little bit of a play around. Pretty much just to take this a little bit further, what I'm just sort of going to demonstrate is that these kicks are obviously quite rapid and playing on sort of like the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth sort of measure of that specific like half of the bar really. So we don't have to be as sort of drastic as that. We can start to sort of remove different kicks to play around with the sound and really sort of change up how it's actually being played overall itself. So if I just take, for instance, a couple of kicks out, and we can see how drastically the sound sort of changes overall. So if we just did that, so that is your first sort of bar. If we just duplicated this out, oh no, we don't want to do that. If we just duplicated that out over a couple of bars, for instance, just the first sort of measure overall of this little loop that we've got going on, this is how drastically the sound changes. Versus where the kicks are a lot more sort of rapid. So really, to summarise, within Ableton, it's as easy as that. It's as simple as applying that sort of compressor, having sort of 2 tracks. Remember that this can be applied throughout sort of MIDI and audio. I do just recommend to do it with audio overall, just because things like this can just take up a little bit of extra sort of CPU and sort of processing power. But really, if you've got the world's best sort of machine, go wild. Now obviously, just to sort of circle this back and giving you a little bit of context into what this effect sounds like applied on an actual beat, I'm going to play you the beat from the sample pack that we've just released. This is appropriately called Central C-type beat at the minute, but I think the name of the actual sample is called The name of the actual sample is called Trapper. Isn't that great? So this is what the sample sounds like. This is what the beat sounds like, sorry. So really, it's as easy as that. That's how easy sidechaining is within Ableton. And if you want to check this sample pack out, all you have to do is go over to yourlocalmusician.com or hit a link. It will be somewhere, trust me, it will be somewhere. Hit it. And maybe like and subscribe too.